Let's start by addressing the consumption story, because you have a somewhat of a contrarian view to what we are hearing on the panel. Explain to me why you are not as bullish on the Indian consumption story as we've heard.
Well, firstly, Shireen, I don't have a listed company, so I can afford to be contrarian. But the world is slowing. I think on the back of higher cost of capital, the US is slowing. We've seen Europe slow. India might be slowing lesser than them. And I think everything is relative. From a global lens, they look at India in a very sanguine manner by comparison of how much they are slowing. So we might be slowing a little bit in the last couple of quarters, but I don't think we're doing as badly as the rest of the world. For many reasons, that holds true. To a large extent, I think the way the India story has been sold to the world by the incumbent government, the narrative that has been set has really helped India. So I think, kudos to them for having created that over the last decade. Interest rates in America might have gone up 1,500%, but they have also gone up in India, and especially in the last few quarters. Even if we have not seen the effect of that on consumption truly yet, if interest rates stay here, starting from real estate, I think across sectors, we will see a higher cost of capital leading to some kind of a slowdown in consumption. So I think that's bound to happen if it's not happening. But as long as we continue to do relatively better than the rest of the world, I think we'll be fine.
Okay, so it's really about relative performance. But, outside of that, if I were to ask you today, the same point that I was making about growth drivers, growth accelerants, and growth catalysts, what is it that you would put your money on? And you are putting your money on many bets today. So what is it that you would put your money on?
You mean sector-specific?
Sector-specific themes that you would bet on.
Yeah. Well, we do have a problem here. When we are looking to invest from an India perspective, I think we need as a country to spend so much more money on research or allocate a significantly larger budget towards research, because so much of the IP creation is still happening outside of India. And I would say that across sectors, across anything that I might be investing in, India has to move away from that place where we are doing what the West did. I would not say, plagiarizing it, but replicating it in a India-focused manner and tweaking it to do better. But we need to really focus on more IP creation happening in India. Personally, the sectors I'm looking at is, since we have the auto guy here, I think EV transition seems to be happening. I don't know if the incumbents, the large guys, will take the market share, or will it be the new guys like the Bangalore-based Ola or Ather? I think that's an interesting battle.
Anish, who's going to walk away with the pie at the end of it? Will it be Bangalore boys, as Nikhil puts it, or will it be the incumbents?
All I can say is we have 5 outstanding electric vehicles starting next year. And this is not about India. We're going to take the world with that.
You're going to take the world, and you don't believe that you've lost time. So you're not playing catch-up.
We're not playing catch-up. I think it's about the quality of the electric vehicle. And we got a platform that is arguably one of the world's best platforms that we're developing these vehicles on. And electric has a long way to go from here. So we're still very, very early in the game. As I mentioned before, we're probably in the first 5 overs of a test match.
First 5 overs of the test match as far as the EV transition is concerned. We'll address that in a little bit more depth in a second. But technology, Sandhya and Mithun, let me come to you on that, and I'll start with you, Sandhya. I think there's unanimity on the panel that one of the big changes that's happened in India is the democratization of technology. Whether you talk about what's happening on payments with UPI, or you talk about what's happening even on the services front, including being able to access government services, the DBT, and so on and so forth. As you see the next wave of growth being unleashed, powered by technology, what is it that you foresee?
Thanks, Shireen, and it was great actually being with the jury today and looking at, some of what you just talked about, which is just this wave of innovation that's getting unleashed with technology. We saw that in the submissions today and what we deliberated. A couple of things that come to mind, right? One is, I think, this whole digital public infrastructure that's been set up. We saw that with UPI. We're going to see that in other ways with ONDC, with open credit. I think that's a pretty big game changer, not just for India, but also for the world, because now we're also exporting that globally as well. So that is a big wave that I foresee in terms of digital governance, not just for India, but the role that India can play globally. The second thing I would say is just this, human capital that we have in the country, right? We have the second largest developer base, going to be soon the largest developer base in the world. Amazing talent. I think there was a Stanford report that got released just over this week that talked about India having, massive AI talent and being on the leading edge of contributions that we're making for AI globally. I think I read some other report, I think it's Bain probably, Manny, that talked about 17% of all global AI talent coming from India today. So there is that wave that we are very, very well poised, to take advantage of. As a company, we've certainly, doubled down on that as well with what we've done on open sourcing Llama 2 and some of the other work that we've done there. Those two are, I think, pretty big waves that we're going to see. The other bit that I would say is this is our largest user, one of our largest user markets globally, across Facebook, across WhatsApp, across Instagram. What we see is pretty much, what Shyam also talked about, which is, this wave of innovation and, digital transformation that's not just happening in large cities in India, but also in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. So I'm also very excited about the potential that it holds for small businesses across the country as they ride the wave of digital transformation, as they get more access, especially now we're saying 5G connectivity across the entire country. What happens to overall consumption patterns and overall, well-being and living levels for everyone in the country. So I see all of that coming together quite nicely.
Well, this bridge between India and Bharat, or Bharat and India, that debate continues, Mithun. So let me get you to address that. There's been a significant degree of convergence driven by consumption, driven by technology, driven by some of the other changes and factors that we just spoke of. As you foresee the next 5 or 10 years, if we are talking about this being India's decade, what would you put down as possibly the big needle changers, the game changers?
Thanks, Shireen. I mean, if you think of this as that, I think beyond everything is our, our population dividend, and that leads to consumption in a very large manner as well also. So I think, and consumption can't be an urban story. It has to be a all India story itself also. And so I do feel that for consumption, distribution will change, and distribution will lead, more FDI will lead to more distribution, and more distribution will automatically lead to more consumption as well. So I do feel that the mainstay for us is really going to be how do we actually make use of this population dividend that we've been hearing for a very, very long time. But I think now the time has come that we're going to do that, especially as we go about this $2,000 per capita income mark as well also.
That's the assumption that we're making, that we are going to go from 2.5 to almost double off that. And that's what everyone seems to be betting on when we talk about the strength of the India consumption story.
I agree.
What are the risks to that?
I think it just happens, right? Inflation takes care of it, growth takes care of it, all of these things happen. When I started work, it was $1,400. And then it was like, will it ever be $2,500? And now it is $2,500. And then we think, will it be $5,000? So I think these things happen, and we will keep growing. The growth rate shows that as well also. We will have quarters which are up and down, and that's just cyclical. That's just part of it. I think there's just so much focus on one country right now, and which is India at this point, that I feel the universe aligns sometimes and it makes things happen, and I believe that this is our time and it's going to happen.
It is our time. Manny, Maceda, speaking about India's time, and from an FDI perspective specifically, which are the sectors that look ripe for more foreign direct investment to come in? We've seen a fair degree of interest from private equity, a lot of control deals happening as well. Which sectors look most attractive from an FDI perspective today?
Some of the themes that have come up, as you said, the cost of capital is up. That's sort of a major trend. I actually don't think that's a bad thing, by the way. The fact that that debt actually costs something. We have management teams around the world that forgot that. And the fact that rates in the United States are in the the mid-single digits. The only question is stability. We've just had such a rapid rise, and India might be higher. And so looking for places to invest while you will use leverage in an appropriate way is important. So where does India fit? And it's other countries too, by the way. There's places that the world is looking at, and you have many advantages. You have places to your west that have a lot of capital, but are sort of talent that need talent. That's opportunities for you. You have places to your east where the world wants to rebalance their supply chains. So if you look at where does it mean for investing in India, it's a plethora of investment opportunities. Because if you want to invest in domestic economy with the population dividend, with this growing consumption, there's not that many places. Most of the world's population are shrinking. You should invest here. If you want to invest in industries where India needs to take a place in global supply chains that are getting redeveloped, technology, semiconductors, manufacturing, you should invest here. If you want to invest in a country that will start building, maybe not just great brands, like Anish is saying, but also great B2B capabilities to build out in places like to the west of you that are deploying capital in meaningful way in the Middle East. You can make that play through here as well. So both corporates that are redirecting their investments here, and there's certain places in the world where they're taking their investments down. Even Kiran said that the private equity investors that you're saying are looking for places to deploy capital with reasonable returns, even when debt is higher. It's pretty multifaceted, and by the way, valuations have gone up quite rapidly, so you also have to look.
I thought they've started to ease now. The crazy valuations that the world had gotten used to, I thought that they've started to ease now.
Well, it did ease throughout. It goes sector by sector.
Where is it crazy still?
Well, I'm saying India-specific valuations are high because people are already looking at this, and obviously I'm from the Bay Area. Anything that says AI or generative AI right now, we used to think about revenue multiples. It'll correct. There's also a lot of hype going on, but the interest in this country and other countries as well is as high as I've seen.